Hello, and welcome. Today, we're going to tackle a huge topic, a field that has completely changed how businesses work. We're asking, what is data science, really? So let's start here. Way back in 2012, Harvard Business Review published this. What a headline, right? It totally stuck. But why? What on earth could make a job about numbers and code sexy? Well, behind that flashy headline, there's a very serious and incredibly powerful field. The official definition here tells us it's not just one thing. Nope, it's a mix of statistics, computer science, and a bunch of other methods, all working toward a single goal: to pull real, actual knowledge out of data. Okay, so that's the what. But what does a data scientist's day-to-day actually look like? How do they go from this giant, messy ocean of information to some kind of game-changing insight? Well, here's the secret. It isn't magic. It's a process, a structured investigation. At its core, data science is all about following a repeatable, rigorous set of steps to find the answers that are hiding in the data. And this is it. This is the roadmap for our whole explainer, based on a framework from Career Foundry. We're going to walk through every single one of these steps, from figuring out the right question all the way to that last one, which might surprise you: embracing failure. Okay, first up, you might think data science starts with data, right? Well, it doesn't. It all starts with a question, a real business problem that actually needs an answer. And this right here highlights the first and maybe most critical skill of a data scientist. You can't start with a vague problem like, why are we losing customers? Where would you even begin? A great data scientist narrows that down to something specific, something you can actually test. Like, which factors are negatively impacting the customer experience for our top-notch learning clients? Now that gives you a clear target to aim for. So, once you have that laser-focused question, you need your raw materials, data. And it can come from a few different places. You've got first-party data, that's the stuff you collect yourself. Then there's second-party data, which is basically data from a partner. And finally, third-party data, which is pulled together from lots of different sources to get a much bigger picture of the market. Okay, now we get to the part of the process where the real heavy lifting happens. We've got our question, we've got our data, now it's time to clean it and analyze it. And let's be real for a second, raw data is almost always a complete mess. It's just full of typos, major errors, duplicate entries, weird outliers, all stuff that can completely ruin your analysis. So before you can do anything cool, you have to meticulously scrub that data clean.
And get this. According to Career Foundry, a data analyst can spend a staggering 70 to 90% of their time on this one step. Yeah, it's not glamorous, not at all, but it is absolutely crucial if you want results you can actually trust.
So once the data is finally sparkling clean, the real fun begins. The analysis part can be broken down into these 4 key types. First, descriptive analysis tells you what's already happened. Then diagnostic digs a little deeper to tell you why it happened. Predictive analysis uses all that past data to guess what's likely to happen next. And finally, prescriptive analysis gives you recommendations on what you should actually do about it.
Now, moving from what happened to what we should do takes more than just a process. It demands a powerful and pretty diverse toolbox of technical skills. So what are the absolute must-haves?
It all, and I mean all, starts here, with a rock-solid foundation in statistics. This is the fundamental language of data. It's not just about, calculating an average. It's the science of knowing if what you're seeing is a real pattern or just random chance.
Next up, SQL, or Structured Query Language. You can think of this as the universal language for talking to databases. If all that raw data is treasure locked away in a giant warehouse, SQL is the key that opens the door. Simple as that. If you can't get the data out, you can't analyze it.
And after all that heavy-duty technical work, it really comes down to this. Can you tell a clear, simple, and compelling story with your data? Because a brilliant insight is totally useless if it just stays buried in a spreadsheet. Good data visualization turns complex findings into something a human brain can understand instantly, and that is essential for getting people to actually act on what you found. And that leads us right into our final stages, sharing what you've learned and thinking about the whole process. Because as we've seen, this is about so much more than just crunching numbers.
And this is the part where value is actually created. The goal isn't to show off how complicated your analysis was. The goal is to present clear, simple insights that help leaders and decision makers make smarter choices. That's it.
But here's the thing. This whole process we've been talking about, it's not a straight line. It's messy. Which brings us to the final and maybe the most important step of all. You have to embrace your failures. This is what really separates a good analyst from a great one.
I think the source material here just says it perfectly. Data analysis is inherently chaotic and mistakes occur. The real skill isn't about being perfect and never making mistakes. It's about getting really good at spotting them, learning from them, and making your approach better next time. It's a cycle.
Okay, so let's boil this all down. What are the big takeaways? First, data science is a structured process, not just some kind of magic. Second, it always starts with asking sharp, focused questions. Third, cleaning data is a huge and hugely important part of the job. Fourth, the whole point is to create clear insights that help people make decisions. And finally, it's a journey of learning and refining, not a straight line from A to B.
And that kind of brings us to the end. I mean, with data being created all around us, every second of every day, it leaves us with one last big question to think about. What's the next big question you would want to ask?